To the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, These are the words of him who is holy and true, who holds the key of David. What he opens, no one can shut, and what he shuts, no one can open. I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews though they are not, but are liars. I will make them come and fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come on the whole world, to test the inhabitants of the earth. I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. The one who is victorious I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will they leave it. I will write on them the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God. And I will also write on them my new name. Whoever has ears, let them hear what the Spirit says to the churches.
I am standing in Philadelphia at St. John's Church, which was built in about 500 AD. Philadelphia was called Philadelphia because it means city of brotherly love. It was built in 150 BC by Attalus II for his brother Eumenes, who he dearly loved. He was one of the kings of the Pergamum Empire, and this city was built just for his brother. It was built on the furthest point of the mail route here in Asia, and it was considered to be the gate or door to the Assyrian territory and unknown world. It was a missional city for Hellenization and the spreading of Greek culture. This entire valley was part of a Decapolis. It involved incredible farmland and vineyards and produce due to the volcanic soils that were in this place. In fact, the wine was so good that Caesar Tiberius ordered that all the vineyards be removed from this area because it competed with those vineyards in Tuscany. Dionysus was their patron god, a god of pleasure and party. He was a god that had an upper half that was human and a lower half that was an actual animal. And in fact, you've probably seen this in some of the gods that we've seen in the past. The architecture here was beautiful. It was the natural scenery with the architecture of the buildings that were very Greek. In fact, many people would say, including Strabo, who referred to it as Little Athens. The problem was it was built on a fault line. And in 17 AD, a very large earthquake took place in this city. And the aftershocks lasted almost 20 years. It was so bad that Tiberius sent 2.5 million denarii and said to the people they would not need to pay taxes for more than 5 years in order to help them rebuild. Because of the earthquake, people moved outside of the city to live. Now, a modern city, as you can see around me, it's about 40,000 people, and these few pillars are the only thing that remained. At the time of this letter, however, there would be a large Jewish population that lived here, and that Jewish population was somewhat responsible for the 11 members of the Philadelphian church that would be martyred in Smyrna with Polycarp. And when Christ writes the letter to this church, he says, I am holy. He wasn't like the other gods, and he was declaring to the new believers in this young church that he was not like the other gods, and they should not look to him as the people around them looked to their gods, but they could have faith that when they called on him, that he was more than willing to be there for them. See, he was telling them, I don't need to be manipulated to be a good God like the gods of the people in this area, like Dionysus. He also said he was true. Like a gun that shoots true and hits the target, there is no lie in God. He is good to his word, and when he says something, it's going to happen. And you know what the greatest of all the declarations was in this passage? He says, I am the one who is the holder of the keys of David. The only other place we read this in the Bible is Isaiah 22, 20 through 23. It says that the holder of the keys of David had access to David's treasure room. Only he who had a relationship with the key holder had access to the treasure. And we have a relationship with Jesus Christ, who is holding the keys to the treasures of the kingdom of God. And because of that, we have access to those treasures. These keys had the ability to open doors and to lock doors. And Jesus is the only one who is able to open and close those doors. You know, when he refers to the church of Philadelphia, there is no rebuke. These people faced incredible persecution, but he spends a lot of time celebrating them and who they are. And he says, you're a young church. You guys have been passionate about my name. And he said, because you've shown me love and passion and faithfulness and loyalty, I'm going to open doors before you, and I'm going to shut the doors that lead to destruction. If you will obey me and walk through the open doors, you will experience incredible prosperity in what you're attempting to do in life. You see, he knew their deeds, and he was impressed by their obedience to take risks and to walk through doors. And even after people had been killed, these people put all that aside and said it was worth it, and we will continue to do that. Although there's no rebuke to the church of Philadelphia, there was one to what Christ called the synagogue of Satan. What did he mean by that? Well, there was an agreement between the Romans and the Jews. And in this agreement, if their name was in the register of the synagogue, they wouldn't have to say, the emperor is great, Caesar is the king of kings. They would be given an exemption to not have to do that. Well, there were some in the synagogue who had blotted out the names of the Christians that were part of that registry and taken their name out. And now, when stopped in the street, these Christians would have to declare Caesar is Lord or face the consequences of their actions. The reward to the church of Philadelphia, however, is long. Once again, he encourages them to pursue the open doors, to fan into flame missionary zeal. They would, just like the city of Philadelphia and their mission to take Hellenization to the world around them, out into the unknown, Christ was saying, I am going to open the door for you to go in the darkest places of the earth, to spread the good news of Jesus Christ to the world all around you. They would escape global trial and judgment so that they could be the preachers of the good news, and they would win the victor's crown. Just as Christ had said to those being persecuted in Smyrna, that they would get a victor's crown, to the same thing he declared over the believers here in Philadelphia. And they would become pillars. I love this part because there isn't much of the remains in Philadelphia. As we stand here today, you look at what's left and you see pillars of this old church. He says, when all the tragedy comes, when all of the hell breaks loose against you, he would make them the pillars that would be left standing. They would not come down because he would give them the strength to remain after the aftershocks and shaking of the earth. We will stand. It reminds me of that story Jesus says, for he who builds his house upon the rock, when the storm comes, that house will remain. We will be the pillars of the church that will remain when we stand on the word. Their strength wasn't in the building. The strength was in the pillars. You know, there are a lot of legends in the courts of heaven, but those who stood firm here and were the pillars became the pillars of heaven and the legends of heaven. There were three names that would be on that pillar. One, the name of God, which, quite frankly, when you possess the name of God, you are declaring that the creator of the universe is yours, that you belong to him. The name of God's city and the new name of Christ. That's our new identity. And never underestimate the power and favor that is found and comes with the name of God. The Trojan horse in the Church of Philadelphia is allowing church hurt and rejection, past failures, disappointments to prevent us from walking into the opportunities opened by Christ. Satan doesn't want you building in the kingdom of God. And so he's going to try to remind you of all of the times you failed and the disappointments you had, or the hurtful things that were done to you, or how offensive something was. The point of this church is that this church must not lag behind the one who is opening the doors of opportunity for us to bring the gospel and build the kingdom on earth. Be kingdom builders. Be on mission. Be ready for open doors, and don't kick open closed ones.